In the case of the Beijing heavy bulldozer weight limit incident, an eyewitness with inside knowledge revealed the truth behind the perpetrator's desperate act of renting a vehicle to commit the crime, as well as the tragic circumstances of the case. But this is only a small part floating on the surface. The much larger part beneath the water is even more shocking. Taking revenge on society has become a way for some Chinese people to vent their anger. In addition, the CCP's Raising Gu scheme has been exposed, and the CCP is pushing wealthy Chinese to participate. Be the American's father. Please support my two channels, News Perspective and Shepherd's Perspective. In the previous stages, my channels were disrupted by the CCP's internet trolls. Not only did I lose a lot of followers, but I was also affected in many other ways. Both of these channels actually focus on current affairs and people's livelihoods, telling the truth and speaking on behalf of ordinary people. Whether you donate to these two channels, subscribe, or simply like and share the programs, it is all support for me. The content I talk about consists of things the CCP doesn't want to hear and tries to cover up. But these are the very truths that are the prerequisite for change in China. Truths that everyone needs to know. Friends in mainland China can use one-click VPN tools for free to access and watch these programs. It's convenient and secure. The CCP can't block one-click VPNs. Developed by Huarun technology experts in the US, it requires no technical knowledge. Just scan the on-screen QR code with your phone to automatically bypass the firewall. I hope overseas friends can crowdfund this method. You're helping mainland compatriots bypass the firewall, which is a truly virtuous and invaluable deed. The fundraising link is placed below each daily video, and everyone can donate as much as they are able. For every $2,000 raised, we can generate 100 VPN links, which can help tens of thousands of friends in China access overseas content around the clock without interruption. On behalf of our compatriots in the mainland, I want to thank everyone once again. Highlight 8. Truth Shepherd tells the facts. Hello viewers and friends, welcome to News Highlights. I am Muyang. Today is Thursday, April 2nd Eastern Time in the US, and Friday, April 3rd, Asia Pacific Time. A major criminal case in Beijing, which has been tightly sealed off by the Chinese Communist Party, has had its truth revealed by an insider. It turns out that the driver of the large bulldozer was from Liaoning and, filled with grievances, chose an extreme course of action. A reporter from the Epoch Times interviewed an eyewitness at the scene, who is the owner of a food stall at the Dahanji market. Wang Yi revealed that the man involved in the incident had come from Liaoning to Beijing to file a lawsuit and seek justice. There was a large amount of petition materials on the bulldozer, but since no one paid attention to him, he retaliated against society. He felt he had reached his limit and didn't want to live anymore. Wang Yi did not reveal exactly what grievance the man had, but he said, "Just think about how much provocation it must have taken to drive someone to do something like this. This isn't something an ordinary person could do." Oh my God, Wang Yi also emphasized that this case is not a minor one, it's huge. Wang Yi stated that the perpetrator went to Beijing to seek justice for his grievances. After getting nowhere, he rented a bulldozer. The entire process was premeditated. He specifically chose lunchtime when there would be the most people. Wang Yi said that it was right at 11:30 a.m. when there were the most people, as many were coming over for lunch. He just drove straight over and hit people driving for about a mile, then turned around and ran over them again. He crashed into an electric pole and got stuck there. The tires went flat. At that time, Wang Yi was still some distance away from the bulldozer. After the incident, he quickly packed up his stall and left. As he was leaving, Wang Yi witnessed the terrifying and tragic scene at the site. Some people died on the spot, and there were dozens of casualties. Wang Yi said, the ambulances came, but there were so many injured that they couldn't take them all. It was terrifying. The bulldozer came and nothing could withstand it. Even the electric scooters were crushed, and dozens of stalls were destroyed. I just glanced at the places where people had fallen and where people had died, then I left. After returning home, Wang Yi received videos from the scene sent by others. She said, "Oh my God, I was so sickened that I couldn't sleep well for 2 days, kept having nightmares. That bulldozer was going so fast, it was terrifying. It crushed people, leaving them missing arms and legs. It even flattened their heads." From what Wang Yi described, we can confirm that this was yet another incident triggered by a miscarriage of justice. The man involved in the incident suffered a grave injustice. He thought he could go to Beijing to seek redress, but no one paid any attention to his case. In utter despair, he rented a vehicle and committed the crime. Of course, we condemn such indiscriminate acts of retaliation against society, But even more, we must condemn the Chinese Communist Party for creating these miscarriages of justice. It was this system that drove the man insane. When he was utterly hopeless and had nothing left to live for, he chose an extreme way to take revenge on society. And similar situations are happening almost every day in China. Many viewers have reported that the Red Sea cucumber health gel is indeed effective, but it's very inconvenient that it often goes out of stock. Now, there is a solution because Hong Haichen has launched a customized service, ensuring a stable supply without shortages. For those who need long-term health maintenance, choosing this subscription customization is the best option, and it also comes with discounts. If you customize the 60-pack, you'll receive an extra gift of Shenhuang concentrated sea cucumber slices. If you customize the 30-pack, you'll get a Korean sunscreen as a gift. What I'm holding here is the 30-pack. 2 boxes make 60. So for all friends who choose the subscription customization, no matter which option you pick, you'll also receive an additional $10 voucher. It's an even better deal for friends in mainland China. For those who customize the 60-pack on top of the Shenhuang concentrated sea cucumber slices gift, you'll also receive an additional gift of a whole 6-year-old honey black ginseng root. The more you buy, the more you get because this red sea cucumber is wild caught. It is harvested by local female divers, not farmed with hormones like other sea cucumbers. That's why it can repair human cells at the root level. If you need it, whether or not you choose the subscription customization, you can use my discount code XWKD to enjoy a 15% discount. Blogger Luo Xiang, known as Breaking Wood and Pushing Walls, posted yesterday that on March 30th, a major overweight vehicle incident also occurred in Xi'an, Shanxi. 2 vehicles collided violently, and it is reported that the incident resulted in 6 deaths and 5 injuries. Surveillance footage shows that at 2:49 p.m. that day, at a T-junction on Shikui Road in Xi'an, after the light turned green, a black sedan sped over from behind at high speed, without slowing down at all at the intersection. As a result, it crashed into a light-colored taxi that was making a left turn from the opposite direction, producing a loud bang. The front of the black car was completely smashed, while the taxi, propelled by inertia, spun around and ended up facing the opposite direction on the road. As the left car door was smashed, 3 people inside the car were thrown out and lay motionless on the ground. By the time the ambulance arrived at the scene, the people already showed no signs of life. According to incomplete statistics from netizens in the past 3 years up to March 31st, there have been a total of 145 indiscriminate attack incidents in China, with 13 occurring this year, 52 in 2025, 56 in 2024, and 24 in 2023. These numbers are already quite shocking. However, some netizens have pointed out that this is just the tip of a massive iceberg. Because the Chinese Communist Party completely censors malignant incidents, the indiscriminate attacks that have been recorded are just a tiny fraction of the information that leaks through the cracks under heavy suppression, very likely less than 1%. Netizens have analyzed that in China, there are no fewer than 15,000 cases of social revenge and random killings each year, and protests by medical staff, students, and journalists probably exceed 100,000 cases annually, even if we only look at these incomplete statistics. It is also evident that indiscriminate attacks are not isolated incidents, but are actually very common in China under the Chinese Communist Party. On average, 1 such incident occurs every week. The reasons behind these incidents vary. Some are due to dire economic conditions and hopelessness in life, while others are because they have suffered injustice with nowhere to appeal, and so on. But regardless of the specific situation, ultimately, all of these can be traced back to the pressure and consequences of the Chinese Communist Party's long-term tyrannical rule. In fact, right now, the Chinese Communist Party is also out of money. Every day, it's just barely hanging on. Today, blogger and writer Kui Chenghao posted online saying that many netizens have reported that Beijing is now enforcing very strict penalties for bicycle violations. When riding a bike, you can't hold your phone for navigation or to take photos, and you can't carry anything in your hands. Otherwise, you'll be fined 20 yuan for violating the road traffic safety law. Several netizens have posted receipts showing the penalties they received, and one of these receipts shows that one cyclist was fined for not following traffic signal regulations. Another was penalized for holding something in their hand while riding, and yet another was fined for violating passenger regulations. All 3 were fined 20 yuan on the spot. In the past, it was very rare to hear about people being fined for violating traffic rules while riding bicycles. But now it seems to have become a common phenomenon. Why is that? The Chinese Communist Party has run out of money. They are racking their brains to squeeze money from the people. Even a little bit counts. This is the evil of the CCP. It has already seriously torn society apart, especially in the more than 10 years under Xi Jinping's rule, during which the economy has been completely ruined. Ordinary people at the bottom have no room to breathe, yet Xi Jinping's regime continues to tighten control through surveillance and harsh punishments. They maintain the CCP's rule and secure the seat of power beneath Xi. People are finding it harder and harder to see any hope. Social tensions are intensifying, and despair and hostility are spreading everywhere in China. It is under these circumstances that incidents like the one in the county keep erupting. It is no exaggeration to say that taking revenge on society has almost become a way for people at the bottom in China to vent their anger. I know that people's anger is directed at the CCP, but they end up taking it out on ordinary citizens. This is wrong and unreasonable. Every injustice has its perpetrator. Every debt has its debtor. It is the CCP that has caused the suffering of the Chinese people. It's the CCP's torment that has made life unbearable for people. So even if you resort to extreme measures for revenge or to vent your anger, you should settle the score with the CCP. You can't lose sight of your target, can you? So, I hope that all my friends will seriously reflect on this and stop taking out their anger on ordinary, innocent people. This is a pattern of mutual harm among those at the bottom, and it is unacceptable. In fact, the CCP is well aware of the situation among the Chinese people, and society has long since become a teapot storm. There's always a risk of eruption. Therefore, the CCP's precautions against the people are becoming increasingly strict and numerous. There was a tourist from out of town visiting Beijing whose online name is YearsXi. He posted a video on WeChat saying that security checks in Beijing are unusually strict and you have to scan your ID card everywhere you go. He said, "In 5 days, I went through security checks 6 times and scanned my ID card 15 times. Basically, wherever you go, you have to scan your ID. At scenic spot entrances, subway transfer points, and even some public spaces all have ID checks, causing multiple interruptions." A Ms. Li, who has been petitioning in Beijing for a long time and just returned to Fushun, also noticed that the number of checks is now higher than before. Places like Tiananmen Square, the area near Zhongnanhai, and Qianmen all require security checks. Now, almost all subway stations have security checks, and in many places you also have to scan your ID card. In addition, Beijing is now full of facial recognition systems. As soon as someone appears, the system quickly identifies them, and they immediately know detailed information about the person, including their name, gender, address, occupation, and so on. If someone is on their blacklist, police officers will quickly appear by that person's side. It can be said that in today's China, traveling is essentially a process of constant scrutiny. The people they focus on monitoring are those they consider to be dangerous elements or threats. Mainly, these are petitioners from all over the country coming to Beijing to seek justice, especially those from Xinjiang and Tibet. A staff member at a hotel in Chaoyang district revealed that if a guest's ID card number starts with 65, they will be registered separately, and sometimes the local police station will be notified. This staff member pointed out that 65 indicates Xinjiang, for example, 6,501 is Urumqi, 6,528 is Bayingolin, and 6,531 is Kashgar. Even Han Chinese whose household registration is in Xinjiang must be reported to the police station when checking in, while Tibetans are not allowed to stay at all. It's pretty obvious. The Chinese Communist Party is well aware that people from Xinjiang and Tibet are the most anti-communist. Because the CCP has committed massacres in both Xinjiang and Tibet, the hatred caused by these events is deep-seated and impossible to heal. Now, the people of Xinjiang and Tibet do not dare to openly resist because they have always been under the iron heel of the CCP and have no choice but to temporarily bury their hatred deep in their hearts. But the truth is, those who hate the CCP and Xi Jinping's regime are far more than just the people of Xinjiang and Tibet. More and more Han Chinese are also hoping for the collapse of the CCP and wishing Xi Jinping would step down soon. Yesterday in Shijingshan, Beijing, in a residential area, an elderly man who had petitioned for years without any result climbed to the top of a building over 20 stories high. He moved along the exterior wall from top to bottom. As he moved, he shouted loudly, "Down with the Chinese Communist Party!" His voice carried far. There was also a netizen who posted a message on the X platform yesterday saying that at 11:06 p.m. on April 1st, Xi Jinping died in Beijing due to illness and unsuccessful treatment. I believe everyone can imagine what that would mean. This was an April Fool's prank, and people knew it was a joke, but they still wanted to see the news. So in just a few hours, the post had over 500,000 views. And when I checked this morning, more than 1.1 million people had already read it. That's just how people are. The more you're afraid of something, the more others will do exactly that to you. Xi Jinping is most afraid of death, afraid of meeting his ancestors in the afterlife, and yet people still made a big deal out of it. This big news was widely shared. I remember there was a joke before. Zhang the Toad once asked a spiritual practitioner wanting to know how much longer he would live. The spiritual practitioner told him that the toad would die on a holiday. The toad was quite pleased to hear this and pressed further, asking which holiday it would be. The spiritual practitioner replied, whichever day you die, that day will become a holiday. Do you all think this joke also applies to Xi Jinping? Next, let's briefly talk about a hot topic that people have been discussing, the issue of the CCP attempting to secretly occupy the United States through the so-called raising stock plan by having children born in the US, and how this is now being taken seriously by the US authorities. The route of wealthy people from China going to the US to give birth and thereby indirectly occupy America may soon be cut off. Yesterday, the U.S. Supreme Court held a hearing regarding President Trump's executive order on birthright citizenship. This executive order was signed by Trump on his very first day in office, aiming to limit the scope of automatic citizenship granted under the 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. This presidential executive order stipulates two specific circumstances under which children born in the United States would be granted American citizenship. Would be revoked. The first situation is when the mother is illegally residing in the United States and the child's father is neither a citizen nor a lawful permanent resident. The second situation is when the child's mother has legal temporary status, but the child's father is neither a citizen nor a lawful permanent resident. From these 2 points, we can actually see that the main targets of this presidential executive order are those who are illegal immigrants and people temporarily residing in the United States. It should be said that the implementation of this executive order is very beneficial to the United States. It is a policy that benefits the American people. It can be said that it brings significant long-term benefits to the United States. However, lower courts once rejected the presidential executive order. As a result, the case gradually made its way to the Supreme Court. Yesterday, Trump personally sat in the public gallery and listened for about an hour. After listening to the government's arguments, shortly after the opposing attorney began speaking, Trump left and returned to the White House. It is unprecedented in American history for a sitting president to personally attend oral arguments at the Supreme Court. So, from this incident, we can also see how much importance Trump attaches to this policy. After leaving the Supreme Court, Trump posted a message pointing out that America's birthright citizenship was established to protect the children of former slaves, not for Chinese billionaires with 56 children to take advantage of. Trump emphasized that this is one of the many great scams of our time. Why does Trump attach so much importance to the enforcement of this executive order? First of all, we can be certain that Trump has clearly recognized that this is a long-term raising goo plan by the Chinese Communist Party to occupy and rule the United States. For generations, the CCP has exploited loopholes in American law, using birth tourism as a way to prepare for occupying the United States. The plan to control America actually began more than a decade ago, around 2010. CCP state media, such as China News Service, have openly stated that according to the U.S. Constitution, anyone born or naturalized in the United States is a citizen of the United States and of the state in which they reside. The article claims that by giving birth in the United States, the child will have a U.S. passport and the opportunity to enjoy high-quality education, welfare, and living environment in America. The article also states that making Americans is an investment with a higher return than robbing a bank. Encouraged by the CCP, a massive wave of wealthy Chinese nationals began paying exorbitant fees to give birth in the United States, with the sheer number of people involved being truly astonishing. According to Peter Schweitzer, author of Secret Empires, in an interview with Fox News, there are over 1,000 companies in China openly marketing services for giving birth in the United States. The total cost for helping and arranging for wealthy individuals to give birth in the United States and obtain American citizenship is typically around $80,000. Not long ago, the Wall Street Journal reported on a well-known case like this. In a Los Angeles family court, Xu Bo, the founder and chairman of the Chinese gaming company Douyi Network, simultaneously applied for tort claims for 4 unborn babies. What did the judge find at that time? He was in the process of becoming the father of 8 children through surrogacy. But in fact, Xu Bo's ex-girlfriend Tang Jing, in November of last year, once posted on Weibo stating that she was raising 13 children for Xu Bo in Japan. These included the 2 daughters she had with Xu Bo, as well as 11 children born through surrogacy. Tang Jing even said that Xu Bo has 300 children, if not more. Later on, Xu Bo's company issued a clarification, saying that Xu Bo has fathered over 100 children in the United States, not the rumored 300. Even if he only has over 100 children in the US, Xu Bo has already become the #1 father in China. Why does the Chinese Communist Party want to promote this plan for wealthy people to have children in the United States? There is a passage in an article from China News Service that gives us a clue about what's going on. The article says that Kong Kong, who is only 1 month old, Kong Kong is the name of a child, says that this 1-month-old child, Kong Kong, has a U.S. Social Security number and a U.S. passport. So, in the eyes of the U.S. government, he is a little American angel. The article goes on to say, but according to the nationality law of China, if both parents are Chinese citizens, even though the person was born abroad, they still have Chinese nationality. So, in the eyes of the Chinese government, Hong Kong is still considered one of their own. This passage already makes it clear that the Chinese Communist Party has set its sights decades into the future. This serves as a warning that China's long-term plan will have a profound impact on the United States. Currently, there are nearly 1.5 million children in China with American citizenship. When these children turn 18, they automatically gain the right to vote and all other rights. Once they reach 21, they can sponsor their parents and other family members to obtain permanent residency in the United States. We know that the United States is a country where officials at all levels, including the president, are elected by the people. The wishes of hospitals and other institutions are also determined by votes from the electorate, and once those children reach 18 and gain the right to vote and to be elected, they can participate in elections, cast votes, and even run for office themselves. It is impossible to estimate what kind of impact this will have on the United States. Let's take Xu Bo as an example. The 100 children he fathered in the United States might, for the time being, be brought back to China to be raised, because children need to be with their parents. In that case, the education these children receive would be the red ideological education of the Chinese Communist Party, and their worldview would inevitably be shaped as the CCP desires. Years later, even if only 1 out of these 100 children identifies with and supports the CCP and goes into politics, it would be a tremendous harm to the United States. If one of these children were to become a leader of the United States, that would be an even greater disaster for America, an existential catastrophe. This is the CCP's extremely secretive GU, poisonous brood plan. By using this method, they aim to control and occupy the United States. Meanwhile, Americans are still clueless about it. All right, that's all I wanted to share with you today. Once again, I'd like to remind everyone that Shen Yun is currently on a world tour. In New York, the performances have already been running for several days and will end on the 12th of this month. So, for those who haven't seen the show yet, don't miss this opportunity. For friends in North America, if you're buying tickets online, you can use my exclusive promo code MY2026 to waive the service fee. But remember, this discount is only available when you purchase tickets through the official Shenyun website. Highlight 8. Truth Shepherd tells it like it is. Dear viewers, see you at tomorrow's event.